sports.
Welcome back to Bite-Size Colts. I am your host, Kev, and believe it or not, gang, who thought we would be here week 4 sitting atop the AFC South? My goodness, how great does it feel, Colts Nation? We're gonna let it breathe a little bit. I know I do these podcasts on Saturday. It's more of a preview of the upcoming week than it is a recap. Now, if I had had time, this week would have been the week for me to do a special victory lap. Let's just spend an hour talking about that Colts-Ravens game. But no, we did not have quite that time. But we are still going to talk about it before we dive into our preview of Colts-Rams. Now, hopefully, by the time you all are watching this, or more importantly, by the time we kick off the Colts inactive list, their injury report, hopefully looks a little bit better going. But let's talk about Minshew Mania once again. Week 3, Colts versus Ravens. How did you like that game? Man, was it a fun game to watch, a bit frustrating at times, started to tighten up there. Wasn't sure we were going to pull that one out. I mean, I say tighten up. I mean, like the tighten up was putting it very, it was putting it very nicely. And then I realized, there's another team that uses that phrase. So don't cancel me, Colts fans. We will switch it up. And honestly, it was way worse than a closening of, we might lose this. I thought it was over. All right. I was in the Horseshoe Pride podcast over on Pro Sports Fans app. Go check it out, PSF. Hang out with us. We do live game commentaries. I will not be there next week because I will be at the Colts Titans game with our dear friend James over from Bite-Size Titans and my close and longest friend on this earth, Nate, our Bears correspondent. Luckily for him, he doesn't have a rooting interest in that one. So, but hey, hopefully he'll get to see some good football. We're Bears fans haven't been blessed with much of that lately, have we? Hey, I can say it. I got Bears fans in my family. So Minshew Mania only went out, went out not with a bang, but with a whimper. Dan Orlovsky was, talk about victory laps, he was celebrating, no longer being the most recent guy to run out the back of the end zone. Different scenario. But I left the Horseshoe Pride podcast with a couple minutes left in the game, right after that safety, admittedly, thinking that, in full disclosure, I have back-to-back podcasts on Sunday. It's very much a working day for me. Go check out the Clout Route podcast. We do our shout out every Sunday. So if you want to get on screen and get a shout out, I mean, that's obviously the show to do that. So go check out Clout Route Presents on YouTube, the only place where you can catch the Clout Route podcast. So tell Danny I sent you. So that way, he'll be mad because we're infiltrating it with sports fans, right? It's a commentary, internet news type podcast, but nonetheless, it requires some prep. So when the Colts were basically, in my humble opinion, I was like, they're done now. Got the safety. We're giving the ball back to the Ravens. This one's over. Luckily, I continued to watch the game and stayed tuned in to my dear friends over at the Horseshoe Pride podcast. And wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know who won the pony? Pun intended. The Colts made it all the way back. Matt Gay with the special teams performance of the week. That 5 made field goals, 4 of them from 40 plus, 50 plus. It was insane. Finally, I know a lot of other Colts fans were giving me a hard time because I was, wanting to see our highly paid kicker go out there and win us a game, or at the very least not lose us one, So a lot of Colts fans were like, yeah, quit rooting for field goals, damn it. And, I didn't argue with you the guys there. But now that that happened, I just feel like that old dude in the Last Dance documentary that could beat Michael Jordan in that one oddly specific gambling game. So he's like, hey, you know, I like Mac A now, huh? How you like him now? If only, if only our punt team could iron some things out. I don't know what's going on with punt coverage or with the punting in general, but hey, Matt Gay lining them up, knocking them down. This was not a game, honestly, that I expected to win. I even predicted it to be a close defeat. I had the Ravens, I think, win by 2 points here, something like that. But this team, even with a backup at quarterback, backups at running back, multiple backups on the offensive line, finding ways to get it done. Juju Brent was huge in his first start. Wow, I he looks ready now, right? Also worth noting that Daryl Baker Jr. was just a healthy scratch after a poor performance. I know a lot of fellow Colts content creators and fans were talking about that. Feels like a bit of a needed change in the Colts regime, right? Shane Steichen is not going to do the whole Frank Reich, we're chopping wood, we'll get a little bit better, we're almost there. He's like, hey, sorry, guys, this isn't cutting it. And until I see in practice, until I see something somewhere, unless there's an injury, so sorry, it's Juju's time now. And he stepped up and made a lot of plays. So very excited about that potential. Good time for it to happen. The Colts are meeting the Rams at a time where they still don't have Cooper Cup, although they have those two young receivers who have been popping off and making any of my Van Jefferson shares virtually worthless. But that's all right. I think we'll get into the preview here soon, but I think the DBs looked a lot better last week. Um, how much of that is because Ravens don't have a great passing game? I don't know. I think without Odell, Rashad Bateman has not really looked all that great. I know they have Zay over there, and there's a lot to be excited about. I think still for the Ravens. It blew my mind actually in my pick'ems this week. The Ravens, I think, were getting shafted on ESPN. I couldn't understand that. Like they're gonna. I think they're still a good team. Speaking of getting shafted, you know, are these teams are these websites that are power ranking teams? Are they watching any of the games? The Colts are still in the lower four. They're like 28th in some power rankings. They're behind teams that they've beaten. They've got now. Speaking, conversely, I think they've still got the Raven. One of them, I think, it was PFF. Still had the Ravens like the top 10 team, which, with all due respect, again, I still think they'll be fine. But how do you have them lose to the fourth worst team in the league, and then or the third worst team in the league, and then keep them in the top 10? I don't know. Just that math ain't mathing for me. So I will just say this: I love and appreciate as long as anyone and everyone wants to continue to sleep on the Colts. That's fine by me. You don't get many opportunities to catch people off guard, and with Anthony Richardson doing the things that he's been doing, this might be a season where the Colts do catch some teams off guard. So who knows? Um, it's a weird thing a 2-1 record will do to you, won't it? Now we're sitting here thinking about we might win this Rams game. Looking at how the Titans played last week and thinking we could beat the Titans next week. It's a weird. I mean, this Logan at Scotty Colt on Twitter pointed this out yesterday, I believe. How many of us, myself included, by the way, don't let me portray it as if I'm looking down on the rest of you from some balcony of correctness. How many of us have this Colts team winning 3 to 6 games, and if they win tomorrow, they'll already be halfway home? It's a long season. We don't want to overreact. A lot can happen, but I think this team is showing us some of the potential of like what we thought was there last year. We got guys like Zaire Franklin still just being a dog, by the way. He just realized this morning, this time of recording on Saturday morning, that it's been a harvest moon, the hunter's moon, or whatever. So the three nights of full moons hopefully don't mess with him. If anything, I'd be more afraid if I'm the Rams. This guy here, Franklin's out here getting 20 tackles a game on normal moons. What's this guy gonna do after he's been recharged by a super full moon or whatever the hell it is, man? Like, look out, this guy's gonna get 37 tackles on Sunday against the Rams, and then he's gonna immediately be drug tested once again. So keep an eye out for Zaire Franklin. And the other thing I want to talk about with the Ravens game was once again Moss this, Moss that. Now we've got people starting the narrative of, do we even want JT back? Which I want to ask you, faithful viewers and listeners, has Moss done enough for you to no longer care about JT? I have a weird perspective on this, being a Colts fan for the better part of more than 3 decades, probably at this point, right around there. That's Jim Harbaugh over my shoulder, not Andrew Luck. So that maybe tells you a little something. But so I've seen the way things happened with Marshall Faulk and how that really stuck, but it eventually turned into Edgerrin James. That also sucked when that went away, but that turned into Joseph Adai, which turned into a Super Bowl. Joseph Adai also didn't get paid because, Dominic Rhodes was able to be brought back, and I think we eked out another 1,000-yard rushing season from him before we really started to see the decline of the Colts running back position there for quite some time. So I could go either way. My first and foremost, when healthy, I think Jonathan Taylor is arguably the best running back in the league, depending on what you're looking for. Um, a couple of years ago, Colts fans, Titans fans had that nice debate. Which one's best back between him and Henry. There are probably some other backs out there that people would make a case for. Obviously, McCaffrey, maybe Saquon when he's healthy. But for my money, JT's right up there with all of them. So I do think he's worth getting paid and all that good stuff. But has Zach Moss done enough for you guys? He is tied right now after 3 weeks with the most, I think, broken tackles with 16. He's tied with Christian McCaffrey on that stat. So keeps going this way, we'll start to feel more and more comfortable with not coming to terms with Jonathan Taylor. And I have to say it here, guys. I owe Zach Moss an apology. Those of you longtime Horseshoe Pride listeners, you might have been listening back when we were Indy Intercept. And I was not happy about the Nyheim Hines to Buffalo trade in which we got Zach Moss back. Probably some of that was based on my unfortunate fantasy outcomes. I'd had Zach Moss a couple times on fantasy. It didn't work out for me. So I was not high on this guy. I was not excited about the Colts bringing him in. And it shows what I know. They saw something in him, and so far, so good. So shout out to Zach Moss. Hope it continues to go well for him. Although, for my money, still give me JT, because I'm still salivating about the idea of Anthony Richardson and JT running those RPOs. And now that Johnny Woods has been out, my whole daydream that used to have me drooling during the workday of first and goal from the 6 RPO with Jelani Woods at tight end is going to have to wait until next year if it's even possible. There's no way I'm going to get JTAR and Jelani this season. So come on, boys. We need to bring them home. We need to work this thing out. But let's get into it. I want to go ahead and push on to our Week 4 preview. Get this Rams game going. For whatever reason, having a little connection issues here. So apologies if the audio hasn't been up to par. But let's talk about this Rams-Colts game. Ooh, the big question is going to be injuries to me for this one, because the Colts O-line is banged up again. Bernard Raymond has a concussion now. So is it looking like, are we going to see Freeland at left tackle? I'm not exactly sure what the front line is going to look like, but Kelly looks to still be out. So we're going to have French fries at the center and right guard. Quentin has been questionable with the toe, but I believe he's going to play at left guard. So the O line's going to be a little banged up. Now, the good news is that Anthony Richardson is back, cleared concussion protocol, and I believe practiced on Wednesday and Thursday. So we're good to go there. He's going to be back, and that is a big factor to me coming into this game because if you look at the rankings per player on the Rams defense, which see my previous notes on the legitimacy of it. So, we're going to take this with a grain of salt. But it essentially is Aaron Donald, and then there's two other guys on their D line that have decent rankings, and everywhere else is bad. Uh, One of the tweets I saw yesterday said it's Aaron Donald and a bunch of college players, and everyone knows this. I think that might be a little harsh, but this is not a great defense in front of the Colts today. And we saw what Anthony Richardson and Shane Steichen's play calling was able to do to the Texans defense in a quarter and a half. And I do think that dynamic running of Anthony Richardson is going to be a big factor here in getting the offense rolling. I think we're going to see a good bit from this Colts offense today. For the first 3 weeks, I have been hesitant to go too much in our scoring prediction, but I do think this Colts team is definitely going to score somewhere probably 21 to 28 points. I feel very confident about that, and that's not banking on a defensive touchdown. I think this offense can go out this week and get two or three touchdowns, a couple of field goals, and we'll talk about the defensive end here. We'll start with that defensive front. The other thing, when we look at the other side of the ball, Matt Stafford has played well. They've got a couple of good receivers out there. Cam Akers is gone. Obviously, if you look above me, you'll know that I'm a Kyron Williams fan. So I am wary of him possibly having a good game against the Colts today. We've been decent against the run. I think Zaire can keep things in front of him. Grove needs to just keep doing what he's doing. He's been blowing things up at the line. Just amazing penetration, causing the running back to potentially go off course. And then, the rest of the guys are there cleaning it up. Quiddy's cleaning it up. Not as much out of Buckner, to be honest. The only reason I am keenly aware of the lack of DeForest Buckner production on the stat sheet is because he is one of the members of my IDP fantasy team. So week one, he had about 33 points. Since then, it's tapered off a little bit. But as a team, as far as the Colts are concerned, I'm good with it because other players have been getting there. Other players have been getting home, creating sacks, tackles in the backfield. Like, that's great because all anyone would talk about preseason outside of our fan base and the content creators that spent a lot of time with this team was, well, it's Forrest Buckner and no one else. Zaire Franklin wasn't getting nearly enough credit, in my opinion, for his near league leading tackles last year. And also, I didn't think that Grove Stewart was getting enough credit, and I understand maybe people questioning. I didn't have a good grasp on what our defensive ends would look like this year. We wanted to see a step up. We weren't sure. So it has been great to see what we've gotten from them so far. So the defensive front is looking good. Juju Brents, as we've mentioned, in the backfield will be a big help. I'm still not sold that our corners and safeties are going to be enough to, to have this team really push for a playoff run. I'm not sure if the defense is going to be good enough. Maybe we're going to win a couple games and look to make a trade or two. I don't know. That's going to be when things start to get interesting here, guys. If this Colts team manages to beat the Rams, let's say they beat the Titans, or one of those two, right? Because you're still 3-2 at that point. Don't think a lot of people would have had us at 3-2. Extend that a few more weeks. Let's say this team is 4-2, gets to 5-3. At a certain point, do they start looking around like, we can push for a wild card spot? Do we make a move here? I don't know if I would. I'm trying to think big picture. As a longtime Pacers fan, one of the worst places you can be is right there in the middle, right? We're just good enough to make the playoffs, not good enough to make any damage, not bad enough to capitalize on quality draft pick. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see how the Colts play this, but let's back it up. I was in a Colts Twitter space last night. Shout out to Logan and Drake and it was Colts fan Cole and everybody else that was in there. But at one point, they start talking about draft prospects for next year. And it was like, hey, can we back it up here? We got week 4, I think, ahead of us. So let's focus on that. So that's what I shall do. Let's get into the finality of it. Let's get our prediction out there. What is going to happen? Colts Rams. I'm going to. Oh, this is tough, guys. I don't want to do it because I'm very nervous. I have. I'm kind of cursed sometimes. I have some bad luck. So, I've been picking the Colts to lose, and they've been winning. So, do you get where I'm going here? I'm feeling nervous about what I'm about to do. But guys, I'm going to give the Colts the 26-21 victory. I had to come up with. I've been picking 2 and 3 point games too often lately. So, let's go 26-21 Colts. I think that the offense, as long as everybody stays healthy, we're going to need to rely heavily upon the run game, the RPO. But I think Anthony Richardson, with that ability to extend plays, to just go out and run and gain a couple yards on some of these broken down pass protections, which I think will happen. The fact that the Rams aren't great on the back end, they'll be able to get that pressure. But then what happens? If they don't get Anthony Richardson, what happens? I think that's when he can do some damage against that defense. And this could be the week where someone like Alec Pierce finally breaks loose on a broken down play, gets downfield, and Richardson's just able to uncork one and take the top off the defense. So I think the Rams offense is going to move the ball. I think they're going to score points as well. But this opportunistic Colts defense is going to force a turnover. They're going to bend but don't break. Matt Stafford, I think, will still look good. Some of you guys who haven't gotten the chance to look at Puka and the other receiver are going to get to, start to share in my fear as a Cooper Cup owner that, like, ooh, this guy's share's going to go down when he comes back. No, Cooper's going to eat. But these guys are going to show you something. I think my hope is that we just bottle up and shut down Kyron Williams. But of course, I do expect him to run hard and be able to get some yards against this Colts team. So there we go, folks. Colts 26, Rams 21. I can't believe I'm doing it. I'm a madman. I'm finally a believer that this Colts team might be able to win. I don't know, probably a little, maybe. I'll go up to 7. I'm going to go up to 7 or 8 games. I'm still, guys, those of you who know me, who know that I'm the pessimist, I'm going to be the last one of all the Colts content creators to be a fully, like, oh, yeah, we're doing it. This is a great team. I'm always going to be the last one. I'd rather be surprised pleasantly. But I will not rub my pessimism off on you great folks. We are going to go into week 4 very happy because we're on top of the damn division and no one had us here. So who knows? We could do anything. This last year, I thought this was a playoff team. Clearly, we were wrong, but who knows? The NFL changes all the time. Some other AFC playoff teams have started off very poorly. You got the Bengals struggling with their injuries. You got the Chargers also struggling with injuries. You never know, man. This team could sneak into the wild card, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet to jump all in on that. But hey, it sure is fun to have a team that's competitive, that's actually winning games. When we thought this team was going to be potentially one picking in the top 5 again last year, at least I did. So anyway, Colts fans, I've taken up enough of your time. Enjoy yourself this weekend. Hope you get to have fun watching the game, and let's talk about it next week. If you enjoyed what you saw, please give us a like, subscribe if you could. Go ahead and share it to your other Colts fans or maybe some enemies in the AFC South that you know, so we can celebrate having the lead. Be sure to turn those notifications on if you are interested in more team specific podcasts. We have the Titans, we have the Steelers, we have the Vikings, we have the Bears out there, we have the Giants out there. We've got Necessary Roughness every Tuesday for your mainstream NFL needs, all the big NFL stories. If you're a fantasy player, we've got another damn fantasy podcast on Wednesdays, Rumbles of Red on Friday to help you with your daily lineups for matchup, DFS matchups on Sunday. We've got the Bounce with me, James, and Keebler every Thursday night to talk all of your NBA needs. We just broke down the Dame Lillard trade and the potential suitors for Drew Holiday, so go check that out. A lot of great stuff going on in that episode. And also, our newest show, Sportsbook Junkies, brought to you by also Keebler and our dear friend Nate, Mondays at 7 p.m. You'll see me in there occasionally giving you my Monday night picks as well, because right after that, I hop over to our dear friends at Carnage Media and do the Carnage Unleashed podcast with Clayton Scalina from Hot Take Sports and Wade Anthony from Carnage Media himself. That podcast is also brought to you by Bite-Size Colts. So shout out to Carnage Media. They are one of our partners. And the last thing I will say, because I've already pitched a bunch of shit to you guys, two last things. Weeb on Wednesdays. We talk Star Wars. So finale coming up. Me, James, John, Sister Network, Weeb, 2D. Check it out. And also, later on today, as of recording, I will be in Indiana doing the pay-per-view for Carnage Fight Series 3, once again brought to you by Carnage Media. This thing is old school, man. We're talking UFC 1. We have multiple tournaments tonight. These guys will be starting the tournament and ending it tonight. We'll be crowning 3 new champions, 2 from a tournament, 1 from our main event, Marcelino Rangel and Mike Russell. Go check out those interviews on the Carnage Unleashed podcast. Freaking amazing. These two are going to light it up. One of the best interviews, pre-fight, back and forth I've seen in a very long time. So that's it. Pitches are over. Thank you all so much for your time. We will see you next week. Go Colts, go. Peace out. Love y'all.